Hi guys, this is me here, Max again, with hopefully another great political video. And today we're going to talk about the American presidential election of 2024. Ron, Italian-American DeSantis versus Joe, let's go Brandon Biden president. Now, here we got the electoral map as it is currently set by 270 to win in terms of safe states for DeSantis and Joe Biden. That would not necessarily be the case if DeSantis and Biden were the nominees. Let's go through this state by state. Now, New Mexico, Colorado, Virginia, not Illinois, but all these three states would definitely be in play. And I also think that Illinois, New Jersey, Delaware, Connecticut, Oregon, and Washington, they would all not be safe states. They would all be within 15% for Ron DeSantis. Not within 15% for Joe Biden would be Iowa and Ohio. Probably Florida, not either. So that gives DeSantis 178 safe electoral votes. Probably 179, since I would also count Maine's 2nd district as safe. Now, let's go through the likely states. I think Joe Biden would still probably have a couple of those. Connecticut would be likely. Delaware would be likely. Washington would be likely. He also more than likely not would win Illinois fairly safely, but that's it for Joe Biden, so he has 159 electoral votes that are going to be fairly safe for him. Ron DeSantis will do extremely well. He is the strongest candidate Republicans could possibly put up. He has appealed to moderate voters. He has appealed to the Republican base. He can get high turnout and get swing voters. While Joe Biden is not the most unpopular president, it would be an understatement to say that he is having a tough time getting people his way. In fact, the only real thing that Joe Biden has going for himself is that he's not Donald Trump. And if he's not running against Donald Trump, he can take advantage of his biggest strength. So he would win Texas likely, probably Georgia. Ron DeSantis will win likely. Will not touch North Carolina for now, but I think actually he would do pretty well in North Carolina. I'm not sure if he would crack 6% the way Brian Kemp did in Georgia, but it would be a fairly solid margin. Now, for the state of Arizona, it has become pretty Democrat and has reelected a Democrat senator by a solid margin. Yet at the same time, they also re-elected a Republican for state controller and for a few other offices down ballot by fairly solid margins. And I have no doubts that if Republicans put up the right candidate that is not as hated as Trump, Arizona could be a solidly Republican state again. But as of right now, I think it will probably be lean instead of safe or likely. Now, that doesn't mean that Ron DeSantis isn't on track to win. He's just missing 8 electoral votes, and we haven't even filled out most of the swing states yet. Now, I think DeSantis wouldn't have many troubles winning Nevada. It has a pretty heavy Hispanic population. It has huge suburbs in Clark County, and that is where Ron DeSantis would do much better than Donald Trump. I think he would also win Wisconsin because DeSantis would do much better in the Waukesha area around Milwaukee. He might not get as much rural turnout as Donald Trump did, but that's not where the vote baskets are. I think he would carry Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania I'm less sure about because Pennsylvania is kind of a state that has historically supported Democrats and is pretty Democratic as right now. But let's go for let's stay in Pennsylvania. I think if Ron DeSantis was a nominee, he would probably win the popular vote against Joe Biden, and he would carry the state of Pennsylvania. I also think that if he put enough of an effort into it, he could make 2 states incredibly close. And that's where I'm putting in the tilt color, Virginia, and Colorado. Joe Biden would still win those states, but it would be by the slimmest of possible margins, and it would be very different from... Actually, Colorado we're going to put as lean, but it would be very different from the best Donald Trump could do in these states. Ron DeSantis would outcompete him with roughly every single voting demographic imaginable. I do think Joe Biden would still win New Mexico by a very slim margin, but DeSantis would do very well in the state. Then, now we're moving on to the north. Now, no matter how bad it gets for Joe Biden, there's no way Oregon is going to go to Ron DeSantis. It might be within 10 points, in which case it would not be likely. But for now, we're just going to say he's going to win it by a likely margin because I don't really think it's going to be in play. I do think Ron DeSantis will take back Nebraska's 2nd district, and I think New Jersey will be either lean or likely. I think it will be 9.5 margin in the end, and it will go to Joe Biden. Now, the state of New Hampshire, I'm really not sure about. Ron DeSantis might end up taking it. However, that state has been trending Democrat in more recent years. It also voted fairly Democrat in the midterm elections. And even if Republicans did better, I still think that it would be a very narrow win for Joe Biden. I don't think Maine would be, though. I think Ron DeSantis would eke out a super narrow victory in that state and take it home for the Republicans. Now, Ron DeSantis is at 300 votes, and Joe Biden is at 213. As you can see, unlike DeSantis versus Kamala Harris, this is actually a fairly competitive election where Joe Biden could still win. But as of right now, if the election was held today, DeSantis would be the favorite. Now, how would Minnesota and Michigan go? In the 2022 midterms, many parts of rural Michigan swung heavily to the left, and many Michigan suburbs stayed fairly the same. If DeSantis can come back in the suburbs, I have no doubts he could go ahead and win Michigan. However, Minnesota is still a very liberal state, and I think that every Republican candidate would have huge issues there. Still, I think Ron DeSantis would probably carry Michigan. Minnesota, I am not sure about, but it would definitely be a very close margin once again. However, as of right now, because Democrats have done fairly well there in more recent times, I will give it to them by a tilt margin. This map is terrifyingly similar to the 2016 Trump map, by the way. The only things that would change is that Maine at large would flip Republican, and Nevada would flip Republican. However, of course, the margins in many of these states would be a lot closer, and therefore Ron DeSantis, unlike Donald Trump, probably would win the popular vote in this alternate election. Okay, now this is a very early on prediction, and we also do not know if this is going to happen. Maybe it's going to be Trump-Biden, maybe it's going to be Trump against Kamala Harris, maybe it's going to be Biden-Trump, or maybe will it be Biden-Nikki Haley, or whoever. We don't know yet. The election is still almost 2 years off. But this is my early prediction of what would happen if Ron DeSantis was to challenge our incumbent president for his second term. If you guys have any different thoughts, let me know in the comment section down below. And I want you all to take home from this that Ron DeSantis is a better candidate for president than Donald Trump. He has much more suburban appeal to independent voters, and at the same time, he can get the Trump base out. Alright, so far, so good. That's just my opinion. Have a good day. See you guys next time.